There has been a ton of chatter recently around Ashes of Creation, and that's because it's coming to Steam for early access on December 11th of 2025. So I wanted to call out and just kind of do a quick video about what you can expect in the early access of Ashes of Creation, just so you can get a better idea of what you're walking into and determine whether or not that's right for you. Keep in mind that on December 11th, the price in order to become a alpha tester for Ashes of Creation will be cut in half to $49.99. I do believe there will be a December Steam sale too, so it might be a few bucks cheaper than that as well, so keep that in mind as you watch this video. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into the specifics about what exactly an alpha even is, because keep in mind, if you do make this purchase, that means that you are becoming an alpha tester. You are not playing a complete game. In fact, a lot of times the developers themselves don't even call this a game because of how much work still has to be done. Personally, I still have like 500 hours or so into the alpha so far, and I do have a lot of fun, but I know it is 100% not for everyone. The first thing I really wanted to kind of call out is the fact that this is, yet again, an alpha. It's coming out on Steam as what they call early access. This does not mean beta. This does not mean the game's coming out next week or a month or even a year. If I had to guess, this game is probably at least 2 years out still. So if you don't want to burn out, and you tend to burn out quickly on games, maybe just don't touch it this phase and just wait until the beta. But again, it's just not for everybody. They even call out a very specific what is and what is not an alpha on their Steam page. So let's just go ahead and find that section right here. So what is an alpha? It's a chance to build the world from the ground up. It's a place where experimentation is encouraged and your feedback matters. And it's a raw, unpolished view of the systems that will eventually grow to become the foundation of this MMO. So again, this is not a complete game. This is a alpha. I cannot reiterate this more. I feel like I keep getting more and more comments about how people are shocked that this is coming to Steam, but realistically, the game's not launching. It's just opening it up to more testers through the Steam platform. The alpha is not a finished game. It is not a guarantee of uninterrupted progression. This is another thing. If you tend to buy in and start playing and becoming an alpha tester, there will be wipes. I know for a fact there will at least be one wipe, because before the game even launches, everything's going to be wiped out. The only thing that you'll keep is basically the knowledge of how to progress your character pretty quickly and an understanding of the systems and things like that, but also a small chance of actually getting some unique skins depending on if you earned them or depending on like the actual beta or alpha pass that you've purchased. So with that being said, let's just jump into the game itself and talk a little bit more about what you're actually going to see once you actually jump into Ashes of Creation. When you log in for the very first time, you can expect to see a character creator. The first option you'll have is to select a specific race, and you can expect to see one more race known as the Ren'Kai. And each race has kind of like a background, you can see that on the right side there, as well as an impact on the physical appearance. If you're Dunir, you're going to be very short. If you're Ren'Kai, you're going to be pretty tall. So keep in mind that you really should focus on just the physical appearance and what you like the most when it comes to race. However, archetype is probably the most important decision you're going to be making. You can select from any of the 8 archetypes. Yes, there will be 8. Summoner will be available for early access and onwards, so every single archetype will be available in the game. There's a small description about each one as well on the right side, but this early access will be the perfect opportunity to try out each archetype and lock in which one you actually want to focus on come the official launch down the road. There's also a handful of other appearance options, but I do want to call out that every time you log into Ashes of Creation, it is technically in its worst possible state. This game is in open development. It's constantly improving, constantly getting feedback, and constantly changing, so the game will evolve as you continue to test it. It's very, very important that you provide your feedback, especially through this stage, as you are basically helping them develop the game, polish it up, and get it ready for the official launch down the road. You can also sculpt specific sections just like this. Again, I know the overall graphics, look and feel is not for everybody, but this is what you can expect to see come the official launch. The other important decision you're going to have to make is to choose which starting zone you go into. There is the Riverlands, which is the first zone that was created. There's tons of quests and just kind of like goblins and lower level monsters over there. And same situation over here. You can start in the mountains. Both areas are great for starting. They both have separate quest lines and level appropriate mobs, but don't worry if you choose one over the other because you can eventually go to the other one. There's also this background option to choose specific backgrounds of your character, but again, I really think you should focus on the starting region and of course your archetype. When you actually jump into the game, you'll quickly realize that the state of Ashes of Creation is actually pretty good. This is actually Alpha 2 Phase 3, so it's even going to look better than that. Plus, this is low graphic settings, so the overall look and appearance is far greater than I think a lot of people kind of assumed. And you'll quickly realize that there are tons and tons of gatherables all over the place. There's a very in-depth gathering, crafting, and processing system. So you can basically cut down any tree you see. You can take down and hunt certain mobs in the open world and train them to become mounts, which is awesome. There's fishing, mining, herbalism, and a little bit of everything. When you actually gather those raw materials, there's an in-depth process where you can process them into goods to then be used for crafting. So you can basically craft those processed goods into armor, weapons, jewelry, and a little bit of everything else in between. Plus, you'll quickly realize that there's tons of different mobs associated with different zones in the world of Era. And one of the biggest things I recommend you guys do when you jump in and do some testing is learn a little bit more about how each archetype feels. So for example, I am a fighter right now. Every single class will have both a melee and ranged weapon associated with it. So for example, even if I'm a tank, I can still use a bow. Also, if you're a mage, you can use something that's called a spell bow and things like that. It's very easy to swap weapons, and each archetype has a unique set of abilities that really make it its own. What I highly recommend is that you focus on determining which archetype you really want to focus on as you jump online and start testing in the early access of Ashes of Creation. Plus, it's pretty cool because every single archetype typically has some sort of gap closer or a mobility option. So for example, as a fighter, I've got leap, so I can jump across the map just like that and kind of close gaps if I'm in PvP or want to start off a fight up close and personal. Keep in mind too that currently in the game there are only the primary archetypes, but at level 25 you will eventually be able to choose a secondary archetype, which will then create your class. So for example, if I am a fighter, I can choose a mage archetype at level 25, which will determine my class. On the screen right now, you're going to see a big list of options of 64 different combinations you have when it comes to the eventual class system in Ashes of Creation. Again, these are not implemented today, but they will be coming down the road. Plus, I do want to call out that there will be changes and just ongoing tweaking to every archetype in the game. So just by being involved in the alpha testing could be a good idea if you want to kind of min-max this game once it's officially out the door and launched, which again is probably still a few years out. Quick comment too, if you do plan on playing Ashes of Creation down the road, then please use my referral link, which is the pinned comment on this video as well as in my description. It just kind of kicked back some in-game currency for me to buy some skins down the road, which will just be pretty cool. Also, this is a friendly reminder to like and subscribe to the video if you've made it this far, and just let me know in the comments below if you are excited in Ashes of Creation or not. I do want to call out too that if you do plan on playing in Ashes of Creation's early access, Do not buy anything until December 11th. The price is still listed as $100 USD on their direct digital shop. That will update as well, but again, do not buy anything until December 11th. This price will cut in half, plus it's not really worth jumping in at this point because there will be a wipe right before the launch of early access, so all the progress you make anyways would be just deleted. So again, save $50, just wait until December 11th to actually make this purchase. The other thing I wanted to call out is that you should expect bugs. This is an alpha test. There's going to be things that go wrong. There's going to be things that need to get improved. And if you ever do come across certain bugs, the best thing you can do is just go to your chat, type in /bug, click enter, and then provide the details and a screenshot of what exactly you see. The developers even tend to reward certain users that find exploits and bug report them, so there are even more incentives to doing it. But long story short, if you are alpha testers, expect to actually help the development of the game, and the best way to do that is to provide feedback and updates on any bugs or issues that you do come across. So again, I do want to call this out that this is probably the most important thing that you should be doing if you do plan on alpha testing this game, because all of these bug reports end up making the game the best possible it could be come the official launch. The other thing I want to call out is that you should be expecting to witness PvP in Ashes of Creation. And there's a handful of different options when it comes to PvP in the game, including a whole lawless PvP zone kind of system that's in place, where on an ongoing basis, different points of interest in the game will be basically triggered to be a PvP zone. It'll be indicated by this large purple circle, but once you actually enter the zone, you will be flagged for PvP, so you can attack other players, get attacked by other players without consequences. However, in the general open world of Ashes of Creation, people can engage in PvP, but there are major consequences. If I just see somebody cutting down a tree or something and I kill them and they don't even attack back, I become corrupted, I get major debuffs, and if I get killed, I will drop my equipped gear. No, I cannot just unequip it while I'm corrupted. You're basically locked in place, and your best bet is to kill tons and tons and tons of mobs to lower that corruption, or get killed by other players, which will also take away that level of corruption. But there's a huge cost. If I attack a player and they attack back, they will then be flagged for PvP, and we will just duke it out and there will not be consequences. So keep that in mind too. Yes, there is open world PvP, but there is a system in place so that people cannot just exploit it like crazy. So just as a recap, you should not expect to play an in-depth full game, because that is not what is being offered here. You're going to be walking into an ongoing, changing game that is constantly being developed, new content updates coming, a good chance that those new content updates being bugged or just overall slow and not at launch ready status, and you should expect to be ready to prepare your feedback and report bugs, because that is what this alpha testing is all about. If you are expecting to play a full in-depth game, then I do not recommend that you buy into Ashes of Creation at this point, because there is still a lot of work to do. However, if you want to join in on the journey, start testing, provide some feedback, and maybe pick up some exclusive skins along the way, then maybe now is the time to jump in. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for some more Ashes of Creation updates along the way. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.